Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review. Young Fathers, Tape 1. Young Fathers is a UK-based trio, and they make some pretty forward-thinking hip-hop music, with loads of sounds coming from reggae and African music too. And it's all filtered through this noisy, lo-fi recording style. There's not a lot of backstory to be said about this group. What little information there is has been posted on the group's Tumblr. And that's fine, because to me the music on this tape has so much personality, it doesn't really need a backstory to support it. The opening track starts things off with this really fat, dirty synthesizer, and this tribal rhythm that's noisy as hell. Yeah, there's an African influence in there, but it sounds like it's sequenced like a hip-hop beat on an MPC or something. There are all these group vocals calling out over it, and these sirens and alarms just blaring in the background. It's a really exciting mess. And the hook toward the end of the track pulls out some interesting lyrics too. Don't you turn my home against me even if my house is empty. This entire tape is just filled with odd and weird and kind of thought-provoking lyrics. It's not like you're really going to get any really hot, fiery, technical spitting on this thing. Instead, the vocals just have a lot of personality, and they just kind of favor poetry over technical ability. Though you're not getting a lot of words, the words that these guys do throw out there just hold a lot of weight for me. Just a lot of imagery and emotions dealing with war, family, love, youth. The last track even kind of talks about the wedding of an uncle of one of the MCs in the group. And in that respect, making sure your words are kind of quality over quantity, and using these really kind of experimental beats. This tape really reminds me of artists like Shabazz Palaces or even Gonja Sufi. Now the next two tracks on this tape are where you really start getting some straight MCing. The track Sister samples this African chant and a marching snare drum, and Rumbling has to be my favorite track on this tape. The beat is just so fat and analog and just rumbly. The sound is kind of muffled, but it still manages to throw a lot of stuff into the mix. These really crisp cymbals, some quirky synthesizers, and something that kind of sounds like a rattling tambourine. It's really fun, but also kind of freaky. It's like voodoo hip-hop or something. The song Romance kind of goes on a reggae trip. It's kind of like a dub reggae trip, actually, but it's so dubbed out. It's just so heavy, it's just so wet with effects that it kind of becomes like psychedelic reggae. It becomes really trippy, it becomes really kind of lucid. It's like listening to a sound system play a reggae tune kind of underneath the ocean, but the vocals are kind of coming through loud and clear. Now the songs on the second half of this thing play with a lot of the same ideas as the first half, kind of continuing to chisel Young Fathers' style into form. Just this really lo-fi hip-hop and pop with African rhythms and vocals being thrown in every direction. I think my biggest issue with this EP or tape is that some of the tracks on here do end a little abruptly for me. There are some tracks that I just wish lasted longer. I mean, yeah, my only major complaint is I just wish there was more. I think the track Ramada is a little maybe too stripped down, could have had a little bit more meat in the beat, and I guess the lyrics could have, been a little bit more straightforward with their storytelling. But yeah, this is a pretty solid tape. With this debut, in my opinion, Young Fathers are coming out really strong. Fresh sound, experimental beats, memorable hooks, and some pretty poetic and abstract lyrics that are worth paying attention to. Feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this tape, but what do you think of it? What does Culture Chester think of it?
Remember, fellas, practice safetiness. Make sure you go to the doctor every few months and get tested for pregnancy. It's important.
Yeah. Do you love this thing? Do you hate this thing? Why? And what should I review next? Anthony Fantano, Young Fathers, forever.